Hey, welcome to Davita's Stampin' Spot. It's Monday night at 7, but this is a recording and not live. I made the mistake of double booking myself this evening, but I wanted to make sure I shared a video with you today since I wouldn't be able to be live. So please, when I'm done, share in the comments what your favorite part of the video was tonight, since I won't be able to see people logging on as I create. That's the bad part for me, is I love having you visit with me as I'm creating, but well, life is what it is. So I'm going to switch the camera around. The technique I'm sharing with you today is using our blends and some rubbing alcohol and creating, I think, a really fun background. So I'm going to switch the camera around and we'll get started. All right. I didn't think I had shadows here. Let's see if we can get it. There we go. That's a little bit better. Let's see if that makes it even better. All right, there we go. All right. So my technique today is using a piece of paper. This is 4 by 5 1/4, which is normally our first layer whenever we do a card front. And I've put it inside a Ziploc bag that I've used many, many times. As you can tell, it's really wrinkly. But I don't think that's going to make a difference, and it might even make the image more fun. So I've put my paper in there, and basically that's my guide. So when I go to lay my paper over the top, and as I'm coloring, I kind of know where my boundaries are. Now I've already done some colors. I've, of course, done my favorite color, purple, and I've done some blue, and I've done some yellow and some orange and yellow together. But I decided, in honor of some of my pink ladies, and yes, you guys know who you are, I would try pink this time. So I'm going to use some Magenta Madness and some polished pink and a little bit of Melon Mamba. I thought I pulled these out before I started. Okay, so there's my pinks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scribble on the plastic. And I have found that I like to start with the lighter color. You don't have to be exact with this, and I think the less exact you are, the better. And what I like to do is, as I'm coloring, kind of do some lights and then come back in with some darks. And then I've also pulled in, if my dark is a little too dark, then I come back with the light a little bit to lighten it up just a little bit. So let's see here. This technique reminds me of the marble paper that we had during Celebration. I think I'd have to play with it a little bit to get it to be a little more like that. But that's what it kind of reminded me of. And when I was looking for techniques, it was like, oh, this would be similar, because I know we all loved that paper. And if your blender goes over some of these others and you're a little worried about it mixing up your colors, I really don't think it will. But just grab a sheet of scratch paper and just touch it up, make sure it's still nice and pure. All right, now what I did earlier today was I came back with a light one after I did this and kind of filled in some of the white spots, because I didn't want a lot of white. But of course, it's up to you. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so there's a lot of pink on there. So Cheryl and Fran, you guys should just be thrilled and happy, because that looks like the colors you love. Now, what I did is I took one of our spritzers and I just put rubbing alcohol in it. So I'm going to spritz this. And I want it to bubble up. And you can, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but on here you can see it bubbling up and kind of mixing together. Now this is glossy paper. Don't use your regular. You could use watercolor, I suppose, but I really like the glossy look. I'm going to lay this on top here, and I'm just going to rub it. Ready? Isn't that cool? Doesn't that remind you of our Marblized paper? And then I've been having fun with this, of doing it again and getting just a little bit lighter color because of course you pulled off a lot of the ink the first time. And then of course I always have mistakes or things I don't like. So what I've done is, okay, so there's a little bit here, pick that up and use some of the extra to add in on your card, because you've got all that ink. Now I will, oh, doesn't that look cool? I almost like the second one better than the first one. Look at that. Isn't that wild? I love that. Okay, and I'm not a pink person, so you pink people just have to be going crazy with this. Look at that. All right, so just out of curiosity, and I haven't tried this before, everything I did was just twice. Let's see what happens if we pull up all the ink here. I'm guessing we're going to have some white spots here. Oh, cool. So I'm just going around the edges because that's where there's still some left. Kind of just picking it up. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? So I've had some fun after I've made these of trying to decide what to do with the paper after I've done it. Now I think it's beautiful as a background, and that's what most of my cards are. I've done backgrounds. Look at that. Can you see that? Oh, wow, cool. All right, now I will tell you that it does discolor your bag a little bit. So what I did is the first one I did on this side, and then I flipped it over and I did this. And then on my other bag, I kind of, did top and bottom. So you can still get a lot of uses out of it. Still can use your bag. I did take wipes and try to wipe it off. It helped a little bit, but I will tell you, it does discolor your bag. So if you have a really special Ziploc bag, don't use it. All right, so there you can see I'm getting a lot of it off. All right, so that's your cleaning. All right, so now I will tell you about mistakes that I've made. Oh, look at those. Aren't those cool? Look at that. Just from a little bit of the blends and alcohol. Lessons learned, don't use Memento ink. I did that on my very first one because I just always grab black Memento. It smeared. It didn't matter how long I let it dry. So you don't want to use Memento. I did use StazOn and it works really well. And with you guys, I'm going to try just using regular ink and we're going to see how that turns out. So what I thought would be really pretty would be to stamp some flowers. Now these are really dark, so I would almost think our flowers would have to be in black. I might stamp a black one on there just to see what it looks like. I'm going to go with the Magenta Madness, and my team members are going to laugh because that's the color I did everything on Saturday for the team meeting. And basically that was because I needed to use up my Magenta Madness because it's going to retire here really soon. And I want to make sure I use some of it. And I'm looking for my stamp set. I forgot to pull it out. Now we'll use this one. All right, so I'm pulling out Color and Contour, which I know I used that, I think, last week. But I want the lined image. I don't want the full one. So I'm going to stamp some flowers on here. And I'm not following my rule. I didn't put my mat underneath here. Try to get some images. And I found the best thing to do is if I'm going to stamp like that is then to emboss. Get this out of the way. So I'm using clear embossing powder. And otherwise you're going to have to wait quite a while for the glossy to dry, because glossy is like photo paper and it's very shiny and slick and it resists everything, which is great if you're wanting resistance, but that's not quite what we're going for here. All right, so I've got that sandy. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this other one in a dark color just to see what this looks like. I'm getting brave today. I'm doing things that I haven't tried yet. All right, so I think I'm going to go, just going to use the StazOn for black just to see how it looks. Grab my paper again. And as you can tell, this slides. So see how that one slid around. You've got to be really careful when you use your glossy paper because it's slick, just like you're walking on ice. And then I'm going to go ahead and emboss this just to make sure it doesn't smear. I'm just, again, using clear embossing powder. Now, if you do this technique and you don't give your paper time to dry, you go to put your embossing powder on like this, and the whole thing is going to be sticky because what will happen is that whole surface is wet, so the embossing powder is going to stick to it. I've made that mistake way too many times. All right, it's going to get noisy here. Now we're going to heat it up, and you'll see the black will get darker. I always tell people it goes from sticky, because you use your ink as sticky, to sandy when you put the embossing powder on, to shiny when you use the heat tool and heat it up. Now that's my one that got slid a little bit. I didn't push down quite correctly, so it's a little wide. So there's the black. Now let's try the pink flowers and see how they look. I think this would look really cool too if you did it and did white embossing powder on the pink. So here the pink showing up. You pink people have to be loving this. I'm not a pink person and I actually really like this. All right. So there you go. Now what I can do is mount this on a card base. And I have found that when you do the rubbing alcohol with it, it kind of distorts the color a little bit, which makes it a little harder. See, I think that polished pink looks the best. That's magenta. All right, mango, hang on a second. Mango Melody, Melon Mamba. They're Melon Mamba, polished pink, and that's the Magenta Madness, and I think that's going to be my best color here. So let me show you what I did. I just took a card base and I cut all of these so that they were by 4 by 5 1/4. And see how I've got some white here? If I don't like that, that's where I would cut off if I want to double mount this. Okay, let's see what it looks like. I usually tend to put a second layer in there. But let's see. That looks nice, just like that. And then what I did was I grabbed the polished pink ribbon. See, that would look all right on there too. I'll finish, what am I doing on time here? I'm not doing too bad. Okay, so I think what I will probably do is I'm going to actually do a white layer underneath this to add some contrast. So I'm going to cut off down to 3 3/4. It's always sad to cut off parts of it sometimes, unless it's an oops, then you're glad to snip it off of there. And because I have a partial flower there, I'm going to go this way. Hands. All right. And I cut some extra white pieces. There we go. So like this. See how that white brings out that pink better so that you can see it? It's almost too bright there. Let's see. There, that's better. All right, so I'm going to grab my pink. I did a fun competition with my team members, or not really competition, a challenge, I guess. One of my fellow demonstrators shared this idea with me of doing a little bit of a challenge where I gave them some cardstock and some designer series paper and some ribbon. And I told them that the question was, what would Davida do? So I had 10 minutes to try to put, I told them I had 10 minutes to put a card together. What would I have done? And I gave them 2 stamp sets, 3 embossing folders, some dies, and told them to create what they thought I would have created in that time period. And it was really fun to see what they came up with. Several of them got pretty close, so they know me well. And I thought of that today when I was working on this, because my tendency with ribbon is always to stretch some around. And you guys see I got some blue ink there. I don't know where that came from, so I'm going to cover that up with my ribbon. Like that. I always do a strip and then I tie a little knot and put it on top. All right. Tie a knot and then cut it at an angle. So several of them got my ribbon idea, what I normally do with ribbon. It was just really fun to watch them. At first, they looked at me like I was crazy, but then when they started creating, they all got pretty good at figuring out what I would do. So I was pretty impressed. I think we'll probably do it again at a team meeting. It was fun to do that. I had several of the team members do demonstrations and they just did a phenomenal job. It's just awesome. All right, so there we go. There's that one. Isn't that pretty? I like the pink on pink. I'm kind of into that mono look, monochromatic. So with this one, I would probably do black behind it and I might do the black glitter ribbon. I'll post a picture of how I'm going to finish that one. So let me show you the other colors that I did. I did yellows and oranges. See how that turned out? Isn't that pretty? And on this one, the first paper that I did, or the second one, had some real big open spots. So I was trying to decide what to do with it. So I made the decision to stamp something directly on it and then cut it out. So here's my paper that I made, and I stamped the sunflower over the top and embossed it. And then this is a green sheet that I did of glossy. This was spruce and mint macron and just jade. And that's the light one there. And I'll show you the others. So that was the yellows. Here's another one with the greens. Oops, upside down. So I did those green colors. And here's the sheet I haven't used yet. It's kind of hard to see. And so this one, I used the amazing silhouettes with the leaves, but that turned out really pretty. And then, of course, I had to do my favorite. So I did blues. And the interesting thing is when I did the blues, I lost my blue one. It almost had a pink hue or purple. So I decided I'm going to mix those together. So here's this one. I used Night of Navy, Misty Moonlight, Balmy Blue, and then I did a little bit of fresh freesia in there. Look at those. This one, I just striped it. So let me show you the two cards. Here's this one, and that's using the amazing silhouette. I stamped it in Night of Navy. No, I didn't either, Misty Moonlight. But see how this gets so distorted? You don't see a lot of this dark blue in there. It kind of just gets melted away. And then here, this is actually the first one I did. So like I said, I stamped these two on the first one and it started to smear. So I stamped their dresses on hand-penned designer series paper and cut it out. And I used our new skin tone blends to color their skin. And then their hair is actually cinnamon cider. And I had a white spot here. So then I took my blending brush and added in some yellow. So it looked like there was a sun in there. So that is my technique for today. Isn't that cool? I'll lay the cards out here. I've got several pieces left that I can play with that I think are really cool as well. So it's called Blends Marbling, I think is what it was called. I want to show you some upcoming classes. So Heart and Home and New Horizon, those cards are, I just think, amazing. And this class, you've got to RSVP by this Friday. So here's the masculine cards. Let me show them here really quickly. It's a fun fold. Okay, and you can choose to do the New Horizons, and that's a half. You can either do a half a package of the designer series paper or a full package. Email went out this week, and I'll be posting all the details on the website. Then I made the Blessings of Home or Heart and Home. It comes with these little cards. So I made 5 of these, and then it comes with the big cards, and I made 5 of those. And then I added in some other cards. So this class, you will make more than 8 cards. You will use a half a package of the Blessings Heart and Home stuff, and then any pieces and parts you'll take home. If you do a full pack, you'll have lots of pieces to take home. So these classes, you have to RSVP by this Friday so that I can get the pieces in, because shipping, you know, is such a challenge. So that's the Heart and Home, RSVP by this Friday. Masculine card class is March 25th and March 26th. And then April 1st is the actual class for the Heart and Home and New Horizons. And we're going to play bingo at Bikes on Saturday, April 9th. So I hope you're planning on that. Our annual catalog is retiring May 2nd. So if you don't have your re-inking, inks, cardstock, you want to get that in the next week or so, because once the retired list comes out, that stuff's going to be gone in a heartbeat, at least if it's like years past. So there's my upcoming stuff. Make sure you join me. And thanks for watching the video. Again, please share with me in the comments which of the card designs you like the best. I'm going to get back down to those here with our blends marbling. Oh, where's my green one? I must have picked it up. There it is. There they are. I hope you're having a wonderful week. If you're on spring break, hope you're enjoying being home or on vacation. And I will see you next Monday night at 7. Have a great week.